morning, everyone. To all of the commissioners, the staff, and any visitors who are attending, welcome to the Board of Fire Commissioners special meeting, Tuesday, May 17th, 2022, and the time is 9 a.m. Ms. Gomez, would you do a roll call, please?
Woods Gray.
Here.
Babcock. Hara.
Here.
Ibarra.
Here.
Ninberg.
Here.
In place of Fire Chief Crowley today is?
Chief Hogan.
Thank you, sir. And Deputy City Attorney Linda Nguyen.
Yeah.
You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Chief Hogan, would you do us the pleasure of the flag salute in the moment of silence?
I'd be honored. Please, if you choose, would you stand? Face the flag and begin. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the
United States of America
and
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And may I ask you to remain standing and take a moment of silence in honor of past and present members of the Los Angeles Fire Department who devote their lives to the protection of all the communities we serve. Thank you, Madam President.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Chief. Ms. Gomez, would you read the instructions for the public comments at this time?
Yes. Written public comment received will be made part of the meeting record file. Persons may listen to this meeting live by dialing any of the telephone numbers listed on the cover of the agenda for this meeting. Should you dial one of these numbers, you will be able to listen to the meeting, but will not be able to give public comment during the meeting. Anyone wishing to address the Board of Fire Commissioners on any item on the agenda or to provide general public comment should call 1-669-900-9128. When you are asked for a meeting ID number, please enter 881-2091-3045, followed by the pound sign. Then press the pound sign again to continue. You will then be joined into the meeting. To alert the board that you want to give public comment, press *9. You will be called on by board staff who may refer to you by using the last 3 digits of the number you are calling from. When unmuted by staff, press *6 and please state your name. Public comment will be limited to 1 minute per agenda item and up to 2 minutes allowed for agenda items. At the request of the speaker will be afforded an additional 1 minute for general public comment for a maximum of 3 minutes total per speaker. Time cannot be ceded to another speaker, and an individual may speak only once during the public comment period. Only those who are in the queue when the President begins the public comment section of the agenda will be allowed to speak. These instructions may also be found on the front page of the meeting agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gomez. Now, we will move to Commissioner comments. Item number 1 on the agenda. Are there comments from commissioners?
I guess I can.
Commissioner Hara?
Yeah. So
Good
basically,
morning.
I missed the promotional event, unfortunately. I was giving a lecture at UCLA during that same time frame. And I'm sorry I missed it because among the promotees were Chief Crowley and Chief Hogan. And however, I was able to attend the demonstration of the electric fire engine at Hotchkiss, and very impressive. And then I also attended in honor of Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. I attended also the the ribbon cutting and lighting ceremony of the historic Filipino town Eastern Gateway, and that was also attended by Council Member Mitchell Farrow and the mayor, and then the spearhead of the Asian American Pacific Islander commissioners was actually the one who really got this event going, and that's Jessica Caloza, and she obviously was there. Although she's no longer a LA City commissioner, she is now the one of the deputy chiefs of staff for Rob Bonta, who was also at that meeting, the Attorney General for the state of California. And then on Fire Service Day, this past Saturday, I actually attended a number of different fire stations. I was at 27, where they demonstrated the electric fire engine, and Chief Crowley was there, along with actually the mayor, a number of council members, Mitchell Farrow, Monica Rodriguez was there, and then following that, I actually went to 88, where they had an impressive event where they had hazmat demonstrations, and they had urban search and rescue had demonstrations as well, and the person, the civilian who was honored as chief of the day, he actually got on his bandstand. I mean, he basically got on a soapbox and gave a lengthy presentation. In fact, bad mouthing, Barbara Ferrer, or from the public health department, and then he actually got cut short so that we can continue with the rest of the
oh my goodness,
with the meeting. And of course, Trevor Richmond was there representing the Valley Bureau. And then from there, I actually went to 13 in the Pico Union area, and then I went to 44 after that, and then I went to 112 in the harbor, and then on Sunday I actually attended extended fire service days that were at 102 and 99, and so I had a pretty busy weekend.
Wow, it sounds like it, Dr. Hart. You did a great job. Thanks for representing the fire department, the commission, at all these various events. It sounds like you were very busy, but I know it was all very, very exciting. We could see bits and pieces of it on social media and on TV. So that was great. Thank you so much for representing and attending all of those different events. Are there other commissioners with comments?
Yes. Hi, everyone.
Oh, good morning, Commissioner Amber.
Thank you. And I do want to thank Commissioner Hara for representing the commission at all of these events. I'm very grateful to you and your service. And I also want to congratulate those who were promoted, Chief Hogan and Chief Kristen Crowley, as well as the new recent head of West Bureau, Chief Fields. So I want to extend a congratulations to Chief Fields, and we look forward to working with you. Thank you all. This is all very exciting. So that's it. Thank you.
Very good. Are there other comments from other commissioners? I'd also like to add my congratulations to all those people who promoted. and congratulate Chief Fields on his new assignment as West Bureau Chief. That's something very special. Okay. No other comments from other commissioners? Then we'll move to item number 2, which is the report of the fire chief. Chief Hogan.
Thank you, Madam President. Appreciate it.
Good morning and congratulations on your promotion again.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I appreciate that. For some reason, I love hearing that. Thank you so much. So, on May 4th, Chief Crowley attended the LAPD 2022 memorial ceremony here in downtown LA. On May 5th, she attended the Dorsey High School magnet formal inspection with the cadets there. And as mentioned, the promotional badge ceremony, which took place, and we are proud to announce 62 total members, including our civilians that were recognized. We had about 3 or 4 civilians, and I really appreciate the fact that we are making sure that everyone is valued and everyone is included. So I wanted to thank Chief Crowley for that as well. On May 6th, she attended a virtual meeting with Leal Elementary School with the 3rd grade students, which was a great interaction. On May 11th, she had a Port of Los Angeles meet and greet that was facilitated by Operations South Bureau Chief Ronnie Villanueva. On May 12th, she attended Los Angeles Area Regional Training Group meeting. She provided opening comments for the Countering Terrorism and Complex Coordinated Terrorist Attacks Interagency Coordination in an Involving Environment Conference that took place here downtown. And then also on the 12th, she was around for the Rosenbauer engine arrival as we took possession of it there. On May 13th, I had the honor of attending with her to the shops there at Supply and Maintenance, where we received a tour and really got to see the great work that our folks at Supply and Maintenance do. So it was an honor to be in their presence, and most importantly, to be educated by not only what they're doing, but what their needs are. So I want to thank Chief Fields and Chief Shao for facilitating that visit. On May 14th, as mentioned, Fire Service Day, very robust day for Chief Crowley. Started at Fire Station 27, where we saw the great Dr. Hara there. Thank you, sir. She attended Fire Stations 27, 82, Fire Stations 112, and Fire Station 88. In addition to that, we had the electric engine rollout presser event there, which was attended by Mayor Garcetti. Council members Rodriguez and O'Farrell were also in attendance, in addition to the folks from Rosenbauer, who worked great, who are our great partners there as it related to us getting this engine here in Los Angeles. And then lastly, on May 14th, Chief Crowley attended the Women of Courage Awards at the Women's 20th Century Club of Eagle Rock. So once again, a very busy day there. Then on May 15th, Chief Crowley attended the Orange County Fire Authority Girls Empowerment Camp. And then, as you all know, she left and hopped on a plane for the Metro Fire Chiefs Conference that is taking place in Memphis, Tennessee. So unless there's any questions, that concludes my report. Thank you, Madam President, and the board members.
Thank you. The chief has been very busy. We can hear.
Extremely busy, man. We're keeping her busy, but she's making a round. She's got bounds of energy, and it's great being able to support her at all of these events that she's attending.
Very good, very good. Are there any questions for the chief? Okay. I noticed under the chief report we have a verbal report by the interim medical director, which is coming back to us. It had been missing for a while. Are we prepared to do that today?
Yes, ma'am, we are.
It's on the agenda. Okay.
Yes, ma'am, we are. You'll get verbal reports today from Chief Poyer as well as Dr. Senko.
Oh, okay. We're glad to have that report coming back. It's been missing for a little while. Good morning, Dr. Senko and Chief Poyer.
Good morning, Madam Commissioner. Chief Poyer, I'm not sure if you're slated to go first.
No, sir, go ahead. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Chief. So my name is Dr. Steve Sanko. I'm professor of emergency medicine at USC and interim medical director and bureau commander for the EMS Bureau. And the following is my verbal report. On April 24th at approximately 1:40 p.m., Rescue 102 responded to an 8-year-old boy who had suffered a ground-level fall, which may seem pretty innocuous. Our responders did due diligence. They took vital signs. They found abnormalities and chased them down and discovered that the young boy had a dangerous type of arrhythmia in his heart. They acquired an EKG, correctly identified the abnormal rhythm, and when the patient became sicker, they cardioverted him. They applied a very specialized type of shock multiple times and ultimately were able to return him to a normal rhythm. He was transported to an appropriate pediatric medical center, subsequently transferred by critical care, transferred to CHLA, received care from the cardiology and interventional cardiology team there, was stepped down and ultimately discharged from the hospital. So this was a great pickup and a subtle pickup by our members. Also, a few weeks ago, Rescue 266 and Engine 66 attended a 41-year-old mother who had symptoms of reflux, so heartburn. She was hesitant to go to the ED but wanted to get checked out. She was encouraged by our paramedics to go for her own safety to the emergency department, and in the process of getting loaded up, she fainted, and quite tragically, she lost pulses. Anticipating this, our paramedics worked quickly to start high-performance CPR. They provided multiple defibrillatory shocks. They administered antiarrhythmic medications, and they summoned one of our EMS captains who brought a specialized tool called a mechanical compression device. This device was recently put out in the field, and it allows patients who are stuck in a certain type of dysrhythmia to be transferred, to be bridged via ambulance with ongoing mechanical compression in a way that's safe for our members and for others. The patient was transferred to UCLA Medical Center, was placed on a bypass machine called ECMO, and several days later walked out of the hospital neurologically intact, alive, and was able to return to her family. LAFD attends around 5,000 out-of-hospital cardiac arrests a year. About half of these are called EMS treated. In other words, the patient is within help, and increasingly that percentage is growing because of new approaches that we're using to help more people, especially given that our cardiac arrest disproportionately affects certain areas of the city that don't have access to health care. So this was a great win for our team and for the community. And then lastly, yesterday around noon, Rescue 804 and Therapeutic Van 4 ran on a gentleman in his 30s suffering from schizoaffective disorder. He was endorsing suicidality. 804 applied a approved checklist that provided medical clearance and allowed transfer of care to one of the new therapeutic vans recently launched in the end of January. The therapeutic van explored the patient's needs. He was offered and accepted transport directly to a mental health urgent care, and ultimately our resources were cut loose and able to attend the next time critical emergency, and the patient received the care he needed in a very timely manner. We now have approximately 500 incidents with our therapeutic vans showing on scene, and around 75% of the time they're able to assume care, provide immediate intervention, and navigate patients to ongoing care. Just one last quick note. This week is EMS Appreciation Week in Los Angeles County, and EMS, most people don't recognize, but LAFD is one of the largest providers of acute unscheduled care in all of LA County. We're pushing, over 400, close to 500,000 incidents a year, so it's pretty remarkable. The health care that we provide, larger than the biggest 6 emergency departments volumes all combined. California, of note, several base stations are recognizing some of our medics, including California Hospital Medical Center. Will be honoring tomorrow firefighter paramedic Andy De La Rosa from Fire Station 26 as Paramedic of the Year. And on Wednesday morning, LA County USC, our flagship public hospital, will be honoring both Stephanie Saver as well as Brian George both last year and this year's Paramedics of the Year. So we're awfully proud of them for their consistent, high-quality care to all Angelinos, and this ends my verbal report.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Stanko, very much. And thanks for noting that this is Paramedic Appreciation Week. As you said, it's not well known. And we do appreciate all of the work that our paramedics do, since they do most of the work of this department. And it's very beneficial. And I love hearing the reports that you give from the medical perspective, because it lets us know how valuable they are and the real hard work that they're doing to save lives is very important to the citizens of Los Angeles. That's wonderful. Thank you so much for that. Chief Foyer, were you going to add to that?
Yes, ma'am. It's a separate report.
Oh, it's a separate report, but with the medical?
No, ma'am.
Oh.
It's emergency operations.
Oh, emergency operations. Okay.
Separate
Does it come under that report?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Madam President, Commissioners, thank you so much. Al Poyer, Chief Deputy of Emergency Operations. In alignment with our EMS report, I'll give you the emergency operations report, and I do want to touch on it a little bit. Our EMS ambulance transports have been rising above the averages from 2021 almost every day, well above on some days. The average daily ambulance transport in 2021 was about 581 patients a day to local emergency rooms. And yesterday, as an example, May the 16th, we transported 684 patients, which represents about a 15% increase. We've had similar numbers several days in the past couple of weeks. This is in addition to the advanced practitioners and the telemedicine, telehealth, and the other things that we're doing to reduce the transports, but it continues to go up. Our paramedics do a truly exceptional job, and our members at Metropolitan Fire Communications have done a fantastic job of managing our resources and staffing an ambulance resource controller position to coordinate efforts and communication between ambulances, our EMS battalion captains, and our battalion chiefs to ensure we keep as many of our resources available as possible and to keep them from going unavailable or getting bogged down in the emergency rooms. And then on the fire side, I'd like to give you a report at approximately 04:30 a.m. on Wednesday, May the 11th. Task Force 94 and Battalion 18 responded to a structure fire, incident number 194, at a residential complex at 5020 Obama Boulevard at across the La Brea in Operations South Bureau. The fire started in some outside ornamental vegetation, which runs along one side of a two-story occupied garden-style apartment building on Obama Boulevard. The fire exposed the apartment and extended well into the second floor units, causing significant fire damage to 2 units and moderate damage to an additional unit. Under the command of Battalion Chief Paul Pham, our resources aggressively attacked the fire and were able to contain the fire to the units originally impacted, and they prevented further extension. All occupants were self-evacuated, and there were no injuries reported by civilians or to our LAFD personnel. Sadly, one pet cat was found deceased in a second floor unit, and occupants from 4 units were relocated from their apartments with Red Cross assistance. Council District 10 was made aware of this incident. Our arson investigators, Red Cross, and inspectors from Building and Safety were also requested to assist, and the cause remains under investigation. At approximately 3:30 p.m. on Sunday, May the 15th, Engine 28 and Battalion 15 were dispatched along with a full alarm brush assignment to 11200 Porter Ranch Drive near the 118 freeway in Operations Valley Bureau. Our resources found approximately 2 acres of brush and grass involved with fire, and after requesting additional resources, this fire escalated to major emergency status. Despite facing the wind-driven flames, approximately 140 of our LAFD firefighters responding by land and air under the command of Assistant Chief John Drake successfully stopped forward progress of the fire in about 1 hour at an estimated size of 7 acres. The fire remains south of the Ronald Reagan 118 freeway with some small spot fires on the perimeter. We had no injuries, no structure damage, and no evacuations. Of note, this was only one of several small brush fires that we responded to in the past week and handled and handled successfully. As we witnessed in the coastal fire in Laguna Niguel last week, the drought has significantly affected the way our plants and brush, commonly referred to as our fuel beds, have been reacting to the heat and wind. Our LAFD firefighters take it hit it hard and hit it fast approach and have really done an outstanding job at limiting property loss. And we remain poised and ready for another challenging wildfire season. And unless there's additional questions, that's the end of my report. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief Warrior. That was I was excited to see how they put that fire out along the freeway, because having watched the other fire that started, our people went right to work on it and put it out just as you said. So that was great. Made us feel really good to see that we are really on top of it. Yeah, I noticed that the Valley Bureau, they've actually been doing a good job with that, doing that, submerging, putting those fires out quickly and attacking them before they spread.
A lot of time and energy and effort into training and preparing for those types of fire. As you know, the weather and the wind affect our Valley Bureau more than any other bureaus, most commonly. They've just done an exceptional job. We're incredibly proud of the work they've been doing. So thank you for noticing.
Yeah, that's really great. Wonderful. Are there any questions or comments from commissioners regarding these reports?
I just want to say thank you to both Dr. Sanko and Chief Poyer for these reports. It's good to have them back, actually. We haven't had them for some time. And I thank you for pointing out the 15% increase in transports. I think that is something, and I know that Standards of Cover is going to hopefully help us as far as providing more resources and maybe, asking for funds to eliminate the burden of the extra work. And I do want to say, I wish that Paramedic Week was not just a week, it should be a year. And so I just want to congratulate Andy De La Rosa, Stephanie Saber, and who was the third one?
Brian George, ma'am.
Brian George, congratulations for Paramedic of the Year. Thank you.
Oh, yes, that's outstanding. Very good. Okay, are there any other comments or questions from other commissioners? If not, we will then move on to item number 3, which is public comment. Ms. Gomez.
Thank you. Good morning, caller. Ending in 770, I've requested that you unmute. Please state your name and the agenda items you'll be speaking on, and if you have a general public comment. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Kathleen Hernandez. I am a member of United Teachers Los Angeles, and I would like to speak on items 2, 6B, and the general public comment.
Very well. Thank you. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. I would like to read into record United Teachers Los Angeles letter to the dated March 3rd, 2022. It starts, to Los Angeles Fire Department Fire Commission, congratulations on the unanimous LA City Council's approval of Chief Christian Crawley's appointment as new fire chief of LAFD. In addition to other accolades, her contribution of running several LAUSD high school fire EMS academies and serving as a mentor and coach to students, especially women and BIPOC students, has been a great asset to our LAUSD, LAFD fire EMS high school magnets. United Teachers Los Angeles recognizes and celebrates the great contributions of these magnets, which include Dorsey, Monroe, West Adams, Preparatory, Banning, and Woodrow Wilson LAUSD high schools. We know they offer life learning opportunities with hands-on experience to develop skills, knowledge, and abilities to prepare and understand what is required to become an LA City firefighter. These magnets engage diverse youth by providing a pathway to a vocation that is also a good paying union job. UTLA is proud to partner with LAFD at these community-based magnets. As you know, recent statistics show that female and BIPOC firefighters are vastly underrepresented in LAFD. 3.58% women, 31.3% Latinx, and 11.65% Black. UTLA fully supports these magnets as avenues of LAFD recruitment of more females and BIPOC candidates. While these magnets provide a career and vocation for our students, they are also opportunities for female and BIPOC students to gain a foothold in fire service. In the past, this was practically non-existent. One of the few Black firefighters from 1960 to 70s era remembers experiencing segregated firehouses and being limited in his role as a firefighter. As a Black firefighter, he was only allowed to do the toxic cleanup on fires and was sent all over Los Angeles away from his station. He also remembers not being allowed in certain quote-unquote white spaces at the firehouse where he was stationed. While much has changed in LAFD since those days, significant inequity still covertly prevails in LAFD. A recent LA Times article dated 11/2021 cites the long-awaited independent assessment of LAFD's work culture, confirming that 56% of female and 47% of Black sworn employees experience bullying and harassment. LA Women in the Fire Service, LAWFS, states abuses include overt harassment, encountering feces spread around the female restroom, facing male coworkers exposing themselves while pronouncing, quote, "This is what a fireman looks like," unquote, finding racist items such as a monkey in a Black firefighter's locker.
I apologize for interrupting you, but I apologize for interrupting you, but your 3 minutes of time is up, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Caller ending in 108, I've requested that you unmute.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Please identify yourself and confirm which agenda items you will be speaking on and if you have a general public comment.
Good morning. My name is Chris Larson, President of Los Angeles Women in the Fire Service. I'm requesting to speak on 6A, 6B, and general public comment.
Very well. You have 3 minutes.
Good morning, Madam President, Vice President Hara, Chief Hogan, City Attorney Wynn, other command staff, and fire commissioners. My name is Chris Larson. I'm President of Los Angeles Women in the Fire Service, and I'm here to address an issue that came up recently. I had a member retire from my section, and we had issues getting that member out of PACER and getting her paid for her retirement. What transpired was multiple emails, multiple phone calls, and multiple trips to fire personnel just to get this person exited out of PACER and get her paid out during her retirement. As I look forward on this drop report, I see that in July of 2022, there are approximately 27 members exiting the drop. Fire personnel and payroll need to have a procedure in place that can handle this volume of retirees in a manner that's not going to cause them months of getting paid out. My member retired in January. She was not paid out until April. That's unacceptable for her members who have given 30 plus years of service. So my recommendation is please get fire personnel and payroll some additional staff. I am also volunteering to have my firefighters, once the school year ends, go and help them, because one of the other things I saw were personal record books and personnel files that need to be filed, certificates of retirement that haven't been processed. And when I looked at one of those personal record books, it was a member who is deceased, and it was 5 years ago. So I wish I could attribute all of this to COVID, but I can't. There's some personnel issues that need to be addressed with staffing and help, and I will do my part to have my firefighters help them out with the things that they can as far as the personnel files and record books. But it's going to be incumbent when we go through this budget process that additional staffing be dedicated to those two sections so that claims can be processed in a timely manner. I also am waiting and have taken multiple emails and phone calls to rectify issues of my own pay. And there was a captain there advocating for two captains who are waiting on back pay over 2 years for a 6-step. That's unacceptable, and our members deserve to be paid in a timely manner. So I thank you for addressing this, Chief Hogan. If you have any questions, I'm more than willing to discuss any of it with you. I appreciate your time, and thank you, Commissioners, for your service. That is all.
Oh, thank you for calling that to our attention.
Caller ending in 438. I request that you unmute. Good morning. Please state the agenda item or items you'll be speaking to, and if you have a general public comment.
Good morning. I'd like to speak on agenda item 6B and general public comment.
Thank you so much. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. My name is Cynthia. I live in Van Nuys, and as a grandmother of 5 kids in the LAUSD school system, I would like to continue reading the letter from UTLA. A recent LA Times article cites the long-awaited independent assessment of LAFD's work culture, confirming that 56% of female and 47% of Black sworn employees experience bullying and harassment. LA Women in the Fire Service states abuses include overt harassment, encountering feces spread around the female restroom, facing male coworkers exposing themselves while pronouncing, quote, "this is what a fireman looks like," end quote, finding racist items such as a monkey in a Black firefighter's locker, enduring a steady stream of racist and sexist comments. Within such a toxic culture, it's no wonder that the attrition rate for women firefighters out of the academy is at a 47% high. As UTLA teachers, counselors, nurses, and psychologists serving LAUSD students who are enrolled in the LAFD Fire and EMS magnet programs, we cannot stand aside silently while female and BIPOC recruits enter into this toxic culture, aspiring to become part of LAFD. The decades-long embedded racist and misogynist toxic culture of LAFD and the significant lack of leadership must be dismantled. No one should have to put their life on the line each day and still have to deal with harassment and hate from their coworkers and supervisors. We are watching and hoping that newly appointed Chief Kristen Crowley will bring much-needed change to the culture of the fire department by holding LAFD leadership and their subordinates accountable in addressing a systemic sexism, racism, and abuse in the department, bottom up, as she has promised. It is imperative for LAFD to provide an inclusive, equitable, and safe workplace for all firefighters, free of harassment and discrimination, so that current and future firefighters can best serve our beloved community. She says her priorities will include promoting a work environment that is free of harassment, discrimination, and hazing, on top of maintaining firefighters' safety, health, and overall well-being, quoted by LAS on March 1st. We have high hopes that with Chief Crowley leading, LAFD can emanate equity and a toxic-free culture built from the ground up and can become a model for fire departments across the United States. We look forward to a new era of justice in LAFD from Cecily, the UTLA president. Thank you.
Thank you. Caller ending in 403, I've requested that you unmute. Please provide the agenda item. Good morning.
My name is Libby, and I will speak on general public comment and 6E.
Very well. Thank you so much. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Libby, and I'm calling in regarding the vaccine mandate. It's stunning to me that we still have hundreds of firefighters still serving the public, yet they are unvaccinated. Our mayor and city council issued a very clear mandate that all city employees must be vaccinated. Why has this been allowed to continue? We are now being told that it's up to us as individuals to protect ourselves from COVID. We have the option to wear a mask, but we are told by experts that we should when we are in crowds or in close proximity to others whom we don't know. In fact, a Forbes article from just 10 days ago cites a study that shows unvaccinated people are at an increased risk of spreading COVID to vaccinated people. When a person calls 911, it's usually on one of their worst days. So how is it okay for the firefighters and EMTs to be unvaccinated and up close and personal to a victim and then put the victim at heightened risk of contracting COVID? The job is supposed to be public safety, not public endangering. As an organization that is struggling to keep enough firefighters, sorry, my computer just went wacko. I had this all written. As an organization that is struggling to keep enough firefighters and EMTs in its ranks, you should also be aware of the Kaiser Family Foundation study that found that those that were vaccinated and boosted reduced their risk of death by 20 times. We require the firefighters to wear protective gear to reduce the risk of losing trained firefighters. Why are we not requiring those in the field to take every precaution, including vaccination, before they're allowed to be working in public? Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, caller. Number ending in 575, I've requested that you unmute.
Hi, this is Michelle. I'm calling from Northridge. Thank you. I'd like to speak on all items.
You have 3 minutes.
Okay, great. One of them I want to talk about is the vaccine mandate. It's really disheartening that firefighters keep pushing back on this. And like the last caller said, when somebody calls 911, you're reaching them at their most vulnerable. I noticed I found something on Instagram that some, we'll just call them toxic fire children, are stomping their feet and touting that it seems to me like a threat to Chief Crowley. And I really support her. I think she's doing a great job and she's in a really difficult situation. They are, complaining that this mandate has stripped them of their lives or livelihoods, drove them crazy and to suicide. Well, what troubles me are the million people who have died of COVID and those who are being irresponsible to the public and to their fellow brothers and sisters by refusing to get vaccinated. That is a problem. It's even more disheartening that these are fire people that are in, we're supposed to trust them. How can I trust them when I see things like this and they're talking about, putting more men in, we need more men like this in capitals? That is blatant sexism and bullying. And I would look into this Instagram account as extreme and threatening and a danger. I support the mandate, and I encourage action that would protect the public and not a handful of toxic men that are stomping their feet because they're kind of babies. I'm done.
Thank you, caller, for your comments. Number ending in 960. Good morning.
Hello, my name is Ruth, citizen of Los Angeles. Just calling in. I wanted to speak on all items, please.
Very well. You have 3 minutes. Please begin.
Fantastic. Being in the medical industry, I have to say I think it's fantastic that finally the fire department is recognizing the paramedics and the work that they're doing on a regular basis. It was so great to hear the doctor give accolades to the one medic with the 8-year-old at a ground level fall. I've been a medic for over 20 years, and I can honestly say I don't know that I would have put a kid on the cardiac monitor. And what a great catch. And in being that, that was potentially for sure a life-saving thing for that child and trauma that, was averted for that family. I got to say, so neat with this new leadership, how the focus is not so much shifting, but at least giving the recognition to the life safety portion of the fire department. I did want to congratulate Chief Hogan on his promotion. It's so encouraging to hear you speak about how you and Chief Crowley want all firefighters to feel value and included. And I know part of the reason, I'm sure, why she feels like she can be out and about and going and get some of these awards and participate in other departments' Girls Empowerment Campus, because she knows that the department is in great hands with you, Chief Hogan. I also just wanted to thank the Fire Commission and City Council for continuing to hold the line on this mandate, and that it is very important. I was discouraged to hear that there are still firefighters out in the field that are treating patients that are not vaccinated. That should not be happening, especially with this uptick in the COVID. And with those increased transports, my question would be, how many of those are COVID transports? And if, again, this is a public safety risk that we must take into account. Thank you all for your time and hard work and what you do. I render the rest of my time.
Thank you for your comments. Caller ending in 574. I've requested that you unmute. Good morning. Please state your agenda item or items you will be speaking to, and if you have a general public comment.
Yes, good morning. My name is Kimball DeLeon. I'm a volunteer with the Theodore Payne Native Plant Society. I will just be speaking on general public comment.
Very well. Thank you so much. You have 1 minute. Please begin.
Good morning, Madam President, fire commissioners, staff, and community members. I just wanted to, on the 23rd of April, participated in the Theodore Payne Native Plant Society garden tour in South Central Los Angeles. I was the docent for the first Black Native garden. Just want to special thanks out to Captain Robert Hawkins from Fire Station 57 and all the firefighters that came out on, I think it was 2 to 3 separate occasions to make the community members feel valued, invite them to the station. I just love the smiles and all the information that they provide us at that event. So thank you dearly from the Theodore Payne Native Plant Society, Captain Hawkins, and all your other firefighters for making it a special day in the community in South Central Los Angeles. That's it on my end.
Thank you so much for your comments. Caller ending in 262. I've requested that you unmute.
Good morning. My name is Chung Ho, First Vice President of the United Firefighters of LA City, Local 112. I'd like to speak on general public comment and agenda items 6B, C, and D, and therefore requesting the full 3 minutes.
Very well. Please continue.
Thank you. The LAFD has made significant improvements with regards to hiring, promoting diversity, and the handling of complaints throughout the years, as demonstrated by the findings in the Equal Employment Assessment. The number of complaints in 2021 was significantly lower than in 2013 and 2014. UFLAC works hard to ensure that our members' voices are heard, and we are committed to ensuring that all LAFD workplaces are safe, equitable, and free of harassment. For this reason, UFLAC does not agree with the independent assessor's recommendations number 5 and number 6. By making these changes, you will remove the potential for education-based discipline. This report details the fact that complaints are way down. Therefore, now is not the time to change the system and eliminate the opportunity for additional training through education-based discipline. With regards to the corrective action summary document, UFLAC would like to recommend that the department offer training to disciplined personnel instead of mandatory days off. Currently, disciplined members get penalized with days off work, but additional training would be more valuable in cases where proper medical protocol was not followed. Hand in hand with this, UFLAC has been advocating to get EMS captains back on 24-hour shifts in all battalions so they can continue to train firefighter paramedics while in the field. We hope to work with management in order to offer our members education-based discipline rather than just days off, which leaves less firefighter paramedics out in the field to serve the public. Lastly, as UFLAC has mentioned many times before, our fire department is suffering from a staffing crisis. The drop forecast reports indicates that the number of personnel leaving our department will continue to rise drastically over the next few years. Adequate funding must be allocated for continuous drill tower classes past 2024 in order to keep up with the attrition and maintain safe staffing levels. UFLAC supports the hiring of highly qualified candidates that are reflective of the city that we serve while maintaining the rigorous standards of the LAFD. Thank you for your time. And if I've got a couple of seconds, congrats, Chief Hogan and all the promotees.
Thank you for your comments. Madam Chair, that was the last caller. I need you to unmute, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thanks to all of the people who chose to come and share your thoughts with us. We appreciate and value public comment. The next item on our agenda is item 4, and it's our discussion and vote that's under code section 54953E1. I believe that Ms. Attorney Nguyen, is there any update that you'd like to give us? Attorney Nguyen, is she there?
Oh, hi, sorry, I was having trouble unmuting myself.
Oh, okay. I seemingly remember seeing I don't know if that was last week, that a bulletin, a press release or some notice came out, but I wondered if you had an update of anything that you would like to share.
I don't have any updates from the mayor's office or the city council. I'll just remind the commission that it was at our last meeting that the commission made the finding. That was on May 3rd, and if the commission does not make a finding today, then the next meeting, which is scheduled for June 7th, will be an in-person meeting. So as far as I know, the Police Board of Commissioners has not made any decisions regarding in-person meetings. And other than the pension board for the Public Safety Pension Board, I am not aware of any other city bodies that have decided to go in person. The city council is, the direction from the city council is that the individual bodies have the authority to make their decisions based on their individual needs, and is allowing the bodies to, determine what those needs are and, make the findings accordingly.
I believe there was a note from Andre Herndon, the Chief of Staff for the Mayor last week, which said, had some information. Would you like to share that, Chief Everett? I think I see.
Good morning, ma'am. So the information we received from the Mayor's office most recently is that committees and commissions can continue on virtual platform at this time, unless a hybrid solution is available. As we discussed in a few meetings ago, hybrid solution is probably not feasible for us. We would have to change locations, and if we did a hybrid solution in our commission room, it would require considerable cost. Estimates have come through, so it would be considerable work to get that done in a timely manner. So the information we received last week was essentially that, like the city attorney has said, that we have the latitude to continue virtual meetings at this time, and we're waiting further direction from council and the mayor's office.
Okay, very good. So having heard those comments, and I think that all of the commissioners get the notice from Andre Hearn? I think they did. I'm not sure. Ms. Gomez, do you recall whether or not they received that note?
I don't recall receiving it myself, Yes, ma'am, but I'll need to search for it.
Commissioner Ibarra, do you recall receiving?
Yeah. I do recall receiving that from Herndon, and I think it was from Chief Everett who forwarded it to us. I have a question about what the City Council's process is doing, because a long time ago, when we first started discussing this, we thought that we would follow whatever City Council did. So can either Chief Everett or City Attorney give us an update on what the process is for Council?
As far as I know, the City Council has resumed in-person meetings. They have allowed staff to present in person as opposed to by Zoom. They've stopped doing Zoom presentations by staff, and they've resumed in-person meetings and everything that entails.
Just a little further info on that, Commissioner. The public attending council meetings have to be vaccinated, and they have to have business within City Hall to be entering the building. The letter that you spoke of from the mayor's office does allude to commissions to continue going virtual, but council is going back in person.
I would also add that masks are required for entrance into city facilities. And if somebody is not vaccinated, they can make arrangements for alternative accommodations, such as presenting a negative COVID test. And I believe that OSHA is no longer requiring 6 feet social distancing within a room.
Okay, well, so my understanding is that from the mayor and his office is that commissions and committees are still meeting virtually, are through a hybrid form. Mm-hmm. And so whatever the commission or the commission or the committees or boards can find that falls within those directions, that's what they can do. Considering that we cannot at this time have a hybrid form, unless we change locations, there's no place within our whole building where there's a place for a hybrid meeting.
Not that I'm aware of, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
This is Commissioner Babcock. I'm sorry to interrupt, President.
Hello, Commissioner Babcock. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Just want to bring up, I know it's not always convenient, but given the fact that most of us traveling from somewhere else to go into a boardroom, I just want to put out that the LA Fire and Police Pension Commission has a beautiful boardroom down there on 3rd Street, which I'm sure they'd be happy to loan us if we ever wanted to go into that hybrid position. It's state of the art, and they have invested quite a bit there. It is, our retirees pension room. So something to think about. I just want to put that out there, that there are options when we can consider, at least, maybe not today, but looking forward to at least the hybrid option to start to go into that mode potentially after summer, if we think that summer travel may spike COVID cases. I'd be open to pushing until then, but do want to at least put that out there. Thank you.
Oh, that's good to know, because that's what I was thinking. I remember that the room where the Board of Fire Commission, Board of Neighborhood Commissioners meet, also can accommodate that kind of a thing, and they always meet in the afternoon. We always meet in the morning. So I'm thinking that there are probably other rooms around the city if it became necessary, where people actually felt they needed to have a hybrid situation that would accommodate us. that within the city family. It would probably take some extra movement on the part of the fire department and fire department staff, but just as you said, Commissioner Babcock, we drive there anyway, so whichever place we would be going to if we're driving in. But we would also have the option of staying virtual and letting the meeting go on, which is good. Okay. Is there any further discussion on this particular issue? Because Commissioner Ninberg, I see.
Oh, no, I just want to move item 4A. I support the mayor's memo that we, until we can find a hybrid solution, that we remain virtual. And I move item 4A to receive and file, and to get the additional 30 days.
Is there a second? Dr. R, did I hear you? Did I hear a second? I thought I did.
I'll second it.
Okay, thanks, Commissioner Babcock. Okay, very good. So, pursuant to the Government Code Section 54953E1B-C and E3A and BI, this board has determined that because of COVID-19 state of emergency continues to directly impact the ability of the members to meet safely in person, that we will remain virtual. Ms. Gomez, could you call the roll on the motion, please?
Woods Gray.
Aye.
Babcock.
Yes.
Hara.
Aye.
Ibarra.
I'm abstaining.
Ninberg.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Let's move on then to consent agenda items. Are there any questions regarding these items? If not, a motion is in order to receive and file.
Motion to receive and file.
Second.
Okay, Ms. Gomez, it's been moved and seconded that we receive and file 5A and B. We should call the roll, please.
Woods Gray.
Aye.
Babcock.
Yes.
Hara.
Aye.
Ibarra.
Aye.
Ninberg.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you very much. We're moving on to item 6, the regular agenda items. The first item is item A, BFC 22045 from the risk management section. Chief.
That'll be Chief Quinn, ma'am.
Chief Quinn, yes, I was trying to remember his name. Chief Quinn. Chief Scott Quinn.
Good morning, Madam President, Fire Commissioners,
Oh.
Chief Deputy Hogan, and Council.
Good morning.
My name is Scott Quinn. I'm the Battalion Chief assigned to the Department's Risk Management Section. I've been assigned here for just over 3 years as the Section Commander, and previously served in Special Duty and Risk Management as a Captain 1 and Captain 2. And it is my distinct honor to showcase this section today. I realize I submitted a lengthy report and will speak to the highlights within that report. Organizationally, I report directly to the Chief Deputy Administrative Operations, Chief Hogan. Risk management is now nearing its 20-year anniversary. It was created with the primary mission focused on accounting for liabilities to the department in litigation, work comp, and firefighter safety. Recently, we codified the section's intent and purpose, if you will, in our mission and vision statements. We carried this throughout the section, creating statements for all the units as their missions and goals are uniquely different. These are the tenets that guide our decisions in professionalism, expanding on the core values of the department. Risk management's missions and vision statements are located on page 2. The subordinate units are on page 4 and 6 in your report. And on the last page of your report are 2022 goals that we hope to achieve in the coming years. The staffing for this section includes 1 battalion chief, 2 captain 2s, 7 captain 1s, 1 secretary, 2 senior and 1 admin clerk, 1 athletic trainer, and 1 administrative position that is left vacant following the SIP program. There is a chart in your report if you'd like to see their duties and responsibilities. Today, the roles and responsibilities are similar to the early structure of RMS, but have grown to meet contemporary needs. We've expanded on the health and safety mission, provided greater focus on the department's related litigation needs, centralization of official records, and an innovative injury and prevention program. A few comments regarding COVID-19, as this has been our collective focus, demanding a lion's share of our efforts over the last couple of years. In 2020, we were met with the COVID-19 global pandemic, and for 2.5 years, 24/7, and continuing today, the risk management section has worked steadfast and with commitment to ensure the safety of our most valued asset, our human capital. The responsibilities during that mission included all health and safety strategies for prevention, operational interactions, disinfection, and treatment procedures for the members, supporting all testing and vaccination operations, managing all reports and infections as it relates to workers' compensation claims. This was a team effort in collaboration with our partners. I hope to have included everybody. If I left someone out, my apologies. But it included the department's executive staff, the incident management teams, the planning section and fire personnel, EMS Bureau, UFLAC, CORE, LA County Public Health, and the Medical Services Division. The efforts of RMS and MLU are worthy of public recognition since they've been behind the scenes for 2 years. This team has worked without reservation on this mission. Enough on the COVID front. I'd like to spotlight the LFD Records Unit, which is a new area of responsibility to risk management. It is the establishment of the LAFD Records Unit. The department initiated a pilot program in January 2021, moving this responsibility from the arson counterterrorism section and centralizing record, subpoena, and CPRA duties under the risk management, aligning with similar duties. Risk management is collecting data to establish metrics and cost recovery to evaluate efficiency, workflow effectiveness, and a record accountability program. Within your report is a sample of collected data over a 4-month period during this trial period. This data process is continuing. We look at 6 measurable areas, and they're located on the bottom of page 3 in your report. But it includes CPRA requests, subpoena management, records and personal appearances, fee collection, fire requests, and requests for representation. The program is working very well, and we realize that its home is here, and we look to expand on it in one of our goals. The Injury Prevention Unit is this unit is our most innovative program regarding firefighter health and wellness. With a generous grant from the Mayor's Innovation Fund, we were able to develop a proactive program supervised by a Captain 1 and a certified athletic trainer designed to effectively prevent injuries, provide personal care, exercise programs, and assist with a focused return to work preparedness for members that have been off long term. The challenge is reporting on the value of prevention. These programs are growing in popularity in departments across the nation as firefighters and other first responders are recognized as tactical athletes, and that field time is critical to operations and bench time is costly. The program is currently leading the way for other departments to follow. Our key areas of focus is one program called the Functional Movement Screening. It's an evaluation to determine one's risk of potential physical injury. There are 7 measurements of functional movement and range of motion that we use to evaluate each member. It is used by NFL, the NBA, and in the military to evaluate it for professional athletes. So we felt it was a pretty good fit here. All firefighter candidates are evaluated and scored. To date, our metrics indicates about 581 screenings have been conducted, and that includes some sworn to get an evaluation of the current workforce. We've had over 984 members have been in contact with the Injury Prevention Unit seeking personal care. We can assertively support that we have saved 4 recruits, netting an estimated $400,000 in loss prevention, approximately $216 in cost savings for those who would have likely gone to first care versus in-house evaluation and PT, and a savings of approximately $78,000 in treatment and rehab and evaluation costs. Underneath risk management is a medical liaison unit. The officers assigned to medical liaison are tasked with the highest responsibility of the department, caring for those who have been injured or become ill while selfishly fulfilling their duties as firefighters. Arguably, there has been no better team. The COVID-19 pandemic was an event that tested their fortitude and commitment, as they had double duties, tending to what was the result of COVID, as well as the day in and day out work-related injuries and illnesses. Never complaining, they continue to provide for the membership, fighting for professional care, ensuring that they are accounted for, and continuing to seek improvement. The job doesn't end with the member. We lost dear friends in the last few years, not just to COVID, but to new and persistent threat, occupational cancer. We continue to work with the families, no matter how good the work comp settlement is, no matter how sensational the service or how many memorial walls our names make it on. The family and our family remain permanently incomplete and broken. There are 2 other sections within risk management. One is the department safety coordinator. They have the administrative safety responsibilities to liaison with Cal OSHA, work with city safety. They develop things such as safety bulletins and managing the department's library related to safety programs. The safety officer program, all of the officers assigned to risk management section are full duty in responding to escalating incidents. They augment the on-scene command teams to manage safety concerns as well as initiate investigations into significant firefighter injuries and potential near-miss events. In closing, the men and women of risk management, medical liaison, the injury prevention unit, and the records unit are servants of the highest calling for whom I consider family, peers, mentors, but most importantly, some of LAFD's finest. I thank you for your time this morning and the opportunity to make this presentation to you, and prepared to answer any questions you may have related to the report.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Chief Quinn. Are there any questions from commissioners?
Hi. Hello, Chief Quinn.
Commissioner Ember.
Yes. Hi. Thank you. This was a thorough report. I appreciate it. And I also love the functional movement, addition to functional movement assessment, the injury prevention unit. My only question is in regards to the records, the housing, the records unit build out. Did that have any adverse effect on arson? Because we took 3 clerical staff, correct, from arson. So I just want to know, do you know if there were any issues related to that?
I think the appropriate answer would be to evaluate and get that answer from Chief Page over in arson. It is my understanding that their duties and responsibilities were clearly in alignment with what the records unit does now. Subpoena requests, develop complete fire incident reports or document production, and a variety of things related to subpoena management. Those wouldn't normally be a responsibility of the arson section. And its alignment with risk management and our other legal duties and responsibilities centralizes it into our location.
Okay, but arson does send out subpoenas, correct?
They did at one point, but it fell in that unit. So it was really a matter of taking the responsibilities related to it and bringing it over to us. Then when the subpoenas are intake and delivered to department members, the staff manages that, not arson.
Chief Boyer, you have your hand raised?
Oh, does he? Okay, thank you for helping with that. Chief Boyer, yes, did you have your hand raised?
Yeah, I just wanted to opine that after the staff was moved out of the arson section over to risk management, we did afford an opportunity to add one clerical staff to the arson section, and Chief Page declined that at that time. Certainly something we're willing to revisit during the course as time progresses, but he was offered an opportunity to add an additional clerical staff over there and did turn us down for that.
Oh, okay. Well, that is all I need to know. Just wanted to see because there were issues, in arson, of course. So just making sure that we're not stealing from one, and harming the other. So if they don't want if they have rejected the staff, then okay.
Okay, Commissioner Ibarra, I see you have questions or comments.
I do. First of all, because I want to acknowledge the hard work of risk management. It's kind of near and dear to my heart because it's the, basically the legal unit for our department and helps us reduce liability. And, you've had tremendous success, and I know that you've been there a while, Chief Quinn, as a captain and now as a battalion chief. And during your tenure, it's been remarkable how much liability has actually decreased in this department. So that we're doing we're definitely doing something right. I think that the longer this unit stays around and the more experience that we get, we're going to have even more reductions in liability. Doesn't mean that we don't still have problems. We all know that we do, and we all know that because we're made up of human beings, there's always going to be room for improvement. And people are going to make mistakes. And when they make mistakes, they're going to be held accountable. And we're going to take responsibility for that. But all of us on the commission have a fiduciary duty, have a duty to help reduce liability to this department. And when we do the opposite of that, we're breaching our duties to the people of the city of Los Angeles who expect us to do this, to bring down the liability. So this is the section that helps us do that. And you've done great work. And so I just want to acknowledge that. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Commissioner, for your compliments.
Are there other comments or concerns from other commissioners? Chief Quinn, I have to admire your longevity with this department.
Thank you.
So this should make you quite fit to be the chief of this department, huh? Because of your experiences. This, I am happy to, and have heard before about the reduction in injuries, which I think is really something that is good for the fire department and for the firefighters too, when we find ways to help them reduce injuries. One of the things that I saw as I looked at this report is that you have a lot of sworn firefighters in this department, which may not be uncommon for other departments, which makes me want to know now from the fire department, how many sworn officers do we have in other departments? Because what I hear the union and people saying, we're short of firefighters. So I have this question about, they've just raised, I see 4 firefighters here and 1 there and 1 somewhere else. But I know they're doing important jobs, but the front line is our most important. So I would like to request that the department get back to me on how many in the whole department, how many sworn officers we actually have who are not working in fire stations, because that's raised an issue for me. Who did the evaluation of the 6-month trial for the LAFD records unit?
The evaluation was done in-house. I can put the final report together myself and surveyed the data, the efficiency, the benefits for the program, and submitted that to emergency operations and administrative operations for final review.
Okay, so the transfer of the staff over to assist you with that program obviously must have been a good thing.
It is a great thing. It's been a discussion with the department for many, many years. And to finally centralize it closes several loose ends. One of the biggest ones is accountability. My goal is to lower any opportunity for risk to the department. And accountability and managing the subpoenas and all the related documents is one of our priorities.
Okay, so this department, it wasn't created until the transfer of the personnel to your department in January? That was the beginning of the department? Or was it there before in risk management?
I would comment that we had really 2 units doing similar work. You had the clerical staff that were sitting in arson doing what they do now, and then we had a legal liaison that worked with the city attorney's office on document production, interrogatories, responses to litigation and claims. We find that some of these are interrelated, and to centralize them together made more sense, and it's been demonstrated in efficiency.
So in your department, is there a lawyer or who gives? You rely on the city attorney for legal advice?
We rely on the city attorney's office. We have relationships, and they have dedicated staff.
What does a legal clerk do?
I don't believe I have a legal clerk. Yeah. Madam President, I'm a little confused on your question.
Well, I thought that was a legal clerk in your department because you didn't help him to work with the legal issues. I thought that was a legal clerk there. So So you did the evaluation of the pilot, and then it was recommended to continue it as it is. So, but it does sound like an interesting thing that happened there. But when I moved it from how does the public get access to the reports? And is there any accommodations for people who, because you're in the FIG building, right?
Correct.
And the parking over there is very expensive.
The parking in the structure can be deemed expensive. There is street parking. There is an electronic request as well. And
okay. So for people who are not, as many of our citizens are not computer savvy or don't have computers, or low income and can't afford to pay the $27 fee that they charge for parking, is there any accommodation for those people over there?
Madam President, I'd have to get back on that. I don't have an answer for you.
Oh, okay. Is there a desk where people can actually come to over there?
What we have, because of COVID, the public counter has been closed due to COVID restrictions. What we have now is if a courier shows up, an officer will answer the door, receive the information, triage it, and if it's correct, accept it.
So then the public there's no access for public. Can they make appointments, or how do they get there if they need information?
That there is, like I said, the public counter has not been developed and finalized at this point.
Oh.
When we get into alignment with COVID, with a change in COVID restrictions, we'll address that. We have sought proposals to architecturally change the office, and we're still reviewing those bids for affordability.
So you mean not until COVID, till we may change rules for COVID, the public doesn't have access to records or information?
The public
can't come to a desk?
They do have access telephonically, electronically, by email, and by regular mail.
Oh, I see. Okay. So the people who transferred over have been helping with the establishment of this department. And since you gave it a good evaluation, I assume that the clerical people who came over there are doing a good job.
One of the comments I failed to recommend to state in my report is that everything in this shop has been a team effort, and I can't compliment them enough. They've done great work. The clerical staff's workflow is interesting. Depending on public interest, the demands on CPRA and other records can be quite lofty. And with redaction and the other things that they do, they are professionals and they are experts in their field.
Oh, that's good to hear. Good to hear. So risk management now is going to be handling all of the records.
Short of EMS records. So as it relates to fire incident reports, CPRA requests, subpoena management.
And you don't do fire prevention or personnel?
No, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it's a subject of one of the other subpoena requests or a CPRA request.
Oh, okay. So is there room to add more records to your department as it may be deemed necessary?
It might be possible, but the typical answer that follows this is I would need staff.
Oh, you would need staff. Okay. I can hear that. Okay. And you don't have any idea when a public counter might be set up so that people can actually come in?
It is a priority for this section to establish a public counter that's functional and secure.
Uh-huh. Okay. Because, and also in checking on the website and there's a little confusion about how to go about getting the records. Can you check the website and from arson to your department to make sure that they clarify how to get information that the public might need when they go online?
Absolutely.
Because it seems to be in two places. I looked, I saw here some there. Wasn't clear.
Yeah, one of our other goals is to reconcile the misinformation or the difference in information that's on our page, it's out in public, as well as changing habits of those that regularly use our system and changing their information of context. I would say that we have just, Captain Danwell, who recently promoted to Captain 2 and left our section, has been replaced by Captain Amy Bassman. She has a fresh set of eyes on this program, and I think that she'll bring more solutions than we even anticipated.
How are the payments made for the records that are requested?
It's my understanding that a check is submitted at the time of request.
So the only way they can pay is by check?
Right now, and I'll have to dive into that. To some degree, there's been a lot of autonomy with the staff that have come over, and I would have to dive into other questions to how payment is made. What other options?
Okay. Now, is there a captain attached to each one of your sections?
Yes.
So who is the captain who's in charge of the records unit? Who is that?
That is now going to be Captain Amy Bassman.
Amy Bassman?
Correct.
How do you spell her last name?
Bastman.
Okay. Okay, very good. So how are you holding up the staff? I noticed that some of the positions on your chart say there are vacancies.
We actually are going through a process to fill some of our vacancies. We have tried the local hire. We'll put out some more postings to see what other available candidates are out there. We are working with our city partners to see how we can fill our ranks. Everybody here
explain the local hire to me.
The local hire process was an opportunity to hire somebody that lives local, that works local, and give them an opportunity. It's like an equity and inclusion process.
Oh, I see. Very good. I like that. I do like that. Okay. So I noticed on one of the charts that it said recruit saves. How did you save the recruits? I'm not sure. And then there are two sections. One has 114 recruits, one has 45, and then there's one with 4. What happened to save them?
So sort of what we have done is we have to come up with an evaluation of if the mayor gave us $300,000 to come up with a program, was it cost neutral or did it demonstrate a cost improvement? Saving jobs has a cost to it. We estimated that if if a probationary or candidate select is not able to finish their probation because of an injury, and we're able to support that, evaluate for work readiness, do a functional movement screening to evaluate their propensity to maybe be injured and give them a corrective training to prevent that injury. In the event that they have strains, sore muscles, we can give them recovery techniques. And if we can get them through the drill tower or come back and go through a secondary drill tower, that is a save.
Oh, I see. So it was like more or less within the injury prevention unit.
Only in the injury prevention unit, yes.
Okay. So that's how that worked. Okay. Very good. Now, the report that you did when you evaluated the records, establishing the records department, would you share that with the commission?
I can. It's really in the form of a 225.
It's a what?
It's in the form of an interdepartment correspondence, and we can get that.
Thank you. I thank you for the very comprehensive report. It was a department that wasn't really clear as to all of the things that you do there. I see that there are a lot of things going on there. I'm happy that the clerical staff made a difference in the records department, and I hope that that you get filled. And we'll check with Chief Page, because we need to check with Chief Page to find out what happened, because I think he needed clerical support over there too. So I'm trying to figure out what happened. But at any rate, we will check with that and get back with someone on that particular issue. Since you evaluated it and it came up, because my understanding was going to be 6 months, but not 6 months that they would stay there, but 6 months they would go there, and 6 months they were going back. But at the end of the 6 months, you ended up doing an evaluation that said that the services would continue. So now, are all of the women who left from the arson department still with your department? Those are not, they're there, are they?
No, one has left for employment with another organization, and a second is accepting a job within the DWP.
Oh, so you're going to be short of help again?
Yeah, and we're putting a plan together to cover that absence.
So how are you going to function? That will leave you with how many clerical positions?
That'll leave me with two. Two vacancies.
You'll have two.
I'll have one. I'll be short two.
Oh, you have one and be short two. Oh, and you were already short when you had three.
We were treading water. We were doing okay. It depends on the influx of information that the public and the community are requesting.
I see. Okay, very good. Thank you for the report. That was interesting information. And if no other commissioners have any concerns, questions, comments, we thank you, and we will move to receive and file this report. Is there a motion to receive and file this report? And we look forward to getting your evaluation.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Make a motion to receive and file item 6A.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we receive and file item 6A BFC 22-045. Ms. Gomez.
Woods Gray.
Aye.
Babcock.
Yes.
Hara.
Aye.
Ibarra.
Aye.
Ninberg.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's move on to item B, 6B, BFC 22-046. Oh, that's the independent assessor. Good morning. Ms. Fingal, are you there? She's probably unmuting herself.
Oh, good morning. I'm sorry, I did have trouble unmuting and I was having trouble with my video.
I know, that's technology. It works until we want it to work.
Exactly.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sue Stengel. I'm the independent assessor. I'm presenting an assessment of the department's equal employment opportunity complaint in response to a request made by this commission. I'm sorry, do you hear the noise in the background or am I good?
No, you're good.
Okay, perfect. I just checking because there's a very loud noise in the background. In addition to reviewing EEO cases generally, the commission asked us to specifically identify sexual harassment cases, and in particular wanted to know if sexual harassment complaints have risen as the number of women on the department has increased. They have not. For this report, we reviewed 459 complaints filed from January 1, 2013 through June 30, 2021. And among the issues we examined, the number of EEO complaints filed each year and the number of EEO complaints filed as a percentage of the total number of complaints filed each year. We identified the type of EEO complaint, the gender of complainants and subjects, and who complained against whom based on gender. Finally, we analyzed cases with sustained allegations to determine whether the department adjudicated these cases in accordance with their EEO policies. Our assessment also identified the number and percentage of cases in which the final discipline penalty was reduced from the originally imposed discipline or the case was dismissed altogether. We reported our findings and made recommendations. I'd like to thank the department for their cooperation, especially the people in Professional Standards Division, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might
have. Can you go into your recommendations a little more in detail?
Sure. So you may recall that I think in just about every report that we've done, we've made recommendations related to CTS. So we've done the same here. When a department member is either the complainant or the subject of a complaint, we're recommending that the department set up an auto-populate function so that the gender and the race and the rank of the employee, again, whether a witness or a subject, is automatically included in in the CTS file. Another recommendation that we've made on a number of occasions is that the department differentiate in CTS between the person who put the complaint into CTS and the actual complainant. And I gave an example in the report. So, for example, if I complain to a male captain that I was subject to sexual harassment, and the male captain puts the complaint into CTS, 9 times out of 10, that male captain will show up as the complainant. And for statistical purposes, that means that the complainant will show up as a male rather than me, the female, who really is the complainant. So CTS has a function or a page, if you will, labeled person completing this form. We've been told that there might be some technological barriers currently where not everybody has access to that. But we have recommended in the past, and we're continuing to recommend, that the department use this so that there is an obvious differentiation between the person who entered the complaint into the system and the real complainant in the case. The next recommendation that we made is, as I mentioned in the report as well, sometimes the complainants are not employees of the LAFD. They're folks from outside, let's say nurses at a hospital or patients. And we've been talking to the department for a number of years now, again, about differentiating those cases. Because technically they're not an EEO complaint because they do not involve an employee. But they are complaints based on gender or race or some other protected status. And we think it would be beneficial for all of us to understand the number and nature of those types of complaints that come into the department. So we've asked the department to somehow separately categorize those types of complaints. We've made a recommendation for the department's discrimination prevention policy handbook to be updated to reflect current law and city policy. As you can see in the report, we gave a number of examples where the department did not use an EEO penalty guideline to discipline a member in an EEO case. And so we've recommended that the department use the EEO penalty guidelines in appropriate cases. Another recommendation that we have been making in our reports for a number of years now, and that I spoke about extensively when I presented to you on the discipline process, is for the department to implement Charter Section 1060 and discontinue the practice of revoking suspension days when a person asks for abortive rights. And finally, our recommendation, again, deals with CTS. The department is not always marking EEO sustained cases as EEO sustained or EEO not sustained. And this impacts the department and our ability to accurately collect statistics from CTS.
Okay, very good. Are there any, Delia, I see, would you like to comment or ask questions of this?
Sure, thank you so much. Thank you so much for this report. I think when I asked for it, my main goal was to have some sort of data to compare with a lot of the reports that we see in the media, because while we trust that, you know, certain people will want to go to the media and talk about, you know, complaints that they have about the department, we need to have data, comprehensive data about what the trend was like. And I'm glad that I gave this to the independent assessor, because this is a tough task to go through the CTS, to mine through the cases. We know that CTS was not built for reporting. It's very rudimentary. We're in the process, is my understanding, of sort of creating a new system. And so what we need to know is what this new system should look like. And one of the ways of doing that is by doing what you did here, which is pointing out all the ways that CTS is not great for this sort of task. And certain like notable things for me is that the trend of reporting of sexual harassment complaints has gone down quite a bit since 2013. That's important. It's, still we have a lot of those, and we know because we hear about it. So this is a work in progress, and I'm open to hearing other ideas about how we can continue to do better. But it's important that that as we, think about creating more policy around this area, that we understand what the facts are. So thank you for doing that. I know it took a long time to go through this. It was very intensive, and that's why I gave it to you, because it took somebody with, your level of expertise. So thank you for that. I also think a lot of your recommendations make sense. And like we know, they're related to CTS, because CTS is not a great program for where we want to go next in this department and tracking all of these types of complaints, particularly EEOC complaints, but not just those complaints. A lot of different sort of complaints. It's not great. So I guess one of my questions is where we are with adopting a new CTS system. And then secondly, I want to know what because usually when we have these reports, we have also the department's response. So, if there is a department response on some of these recommendations, I'd like to hear them.
I think I'm going to turn the podium over to Chief Everett.
Okay. Good morning, Commissioner. Yes, so for your first question about CTS2, or the next iteration of our platform, we had work in progress going on with our Information Technology Bureau. We were looking for funding. We are getting some indication that with this next budget, we might have some funding in there that's been allocated for software upgrades for that platform. That'll be a major undertaking working with ITA, or we've determined that an off-the-shelf product is probably not feasible. So we're looking internally, perhaps something that like LAPD uses, or what they're using at the Personnel Department for the Office of Workplace Equity might be sufficient. So we're looking at different options there. But an off-the-shelf product is probably not going to work, so we'll see. We are looking forward to the budget coming out, which we'll find out how much money is in there to start making that move. IT support for CTS as it currently stands is limited. It's a 14-year-old program, so if we need to make major changes to it, it's difficult to do. Once we do get a new system on board, it will take a little while to provide the training to all supervisors throughout the department, because it's not just PSD that uses the system, it's department-wide, and it's also available to the public through our internet site. So there will be some training involved to make sure that interface is user-friendly and that we can figure that out. So it'll be a little bit of time, but we do have some funding coming through, we believe. Your second question about the department's response, yes, normally we would be on the same agenda. However, we were not prepared to provide that report today. So it was going to be on the next agenda, but we want the independent assessor to be available as well that day. So it'll probably be on the second agenda in June for the department's response to the recommendations.
Okay. So as to the CTS recommendations, they make sense to me. But I do want to hear about all of them. We heard from UFLAC that they have some opposition to it, and I want to understand what their opposition is before we make all the recommendations. So I would suggest that we defer adopting the recommendations until we hear a comprehensive response from the department. So hopefully, you said
second meeting in June. But, you know, initially some of them, especially the ones that basically are with respect to the deficiencies in CTS, they make sense to me. But I want to learn more about the ones that are going to be controversial. So that's my recommendation.
Chief Graham, Everett, do you have any idea which ones are more controversial with UFLAG?
Only from public comment this morning, ma'am, when Vice President Ho had mentioned items 5 and 6. So we'll take a good look at those and have some discussions with them as well.
Okay, very good. I had a question. You may not be able to answer this, but I just, after looking at the reprimands for certain kinds of behaviors, I just wondered, after they're reprimanded, do the behaviors change? Is there any record keeping on how behaviors change once they've been reprimanded for any of these reprimands?
Is that for me, ma'am?
Anybody who has an answer.
Well, in terms of folks that repeat a similar behavior, if they've been reprimanded in the past, it would show up in their file, and then that offense would most likely be a second offense, and that second offense would come back as a suspension based on the penalty guidelines. So, you know, I think it's more often than not that people do not repeat those same things once they receive a reprimand, but we do have instances where they do. So we would have to run a report to see what that looks like. I would say more frequently the answer is that the reprimands serve as good notice. They are treated as punitive discipline within the Firefighter Bill of Rights, but not mentioned in the charter as punitive discipline. So members do tend to not repeat those behaviors again once they've received a reprimand. But that's anecdotal. I haven't done the research on that.
Mm-hmm. It would be good to do the research so we could actually see if it does work, if it has any effect. Not necessarily work, but it has an effect upon behavior, because I just out of curiosity. So the only way that we know if someone does it one time and then someone repeats that, files a complaint a second time, a third time, or whatever, then we know that that behavior, their reprimand didn't affect the behavior. Is that the only way we can tell?
Well, I think through evaluations of the individual members would be another way to tell. But again, that comes from their supervisors. The one way that PSD could tell is whether or not the member has come through again on a similar behavior. However, the performance of a member after receiving a reprimand would probably be most closely monitored by their supervisor, and whether or not their behavior has changed in the immediate, as soon as they receive it, versus waiting for a second offense to occur. The only study I could do basically through PSD would be whether or not the member came through again with a similar offense.
Well, it would be interesting to see if that happens, because I'm concerned about whether the reprimands work, to what degree reprimands work in discipline. Okay, very good. Are there other questions or concerns from other commissioners? Commissioner Nenberg?
Yes, thank you so much. And thank you, Ms. Stengel, for this very, very comprehensive, laborious report. I don't envy you having to go through and dig through to get the answers. So I hope that the new system will make that easier, and I do agree with your recommendations. I wanted to ask you about your number 6, recommendation number 6, implement Charter Section 1060. Can you speak to that? Because I was reading you had a quote in here from a report it was done a while ago, that said, you know, respect for it, just to quote, you know, that not having consequences, these departments develop low morale and low performance standards. So of course, I want to make sure that when there are consequences, that if there's behavior, it's not that has been already gone through a process and they've come up with the discipline, that it's not shelved for years. And because how long does it take to get a Board of Rights?
It varies tremendously. I believe as of today, and I think I wrote, the oldest pending case is 10 years.
Okay. Okay, so that member never served a penalty. Do you know why it's taken 10 years?
I think that's a question better answered by the department.
Okay.
This is an issue, as you know, we've written about on a number of occasions over the years now. Mm-hmm. And as I said before, I presented to commission on the discipline process and talked about this recommendation actually much more in depth, and what it's about and what it entails, and went into it here in the report as well. When somebody asks for a Board of Rights, which is the right of every member under the charter.
Absolutely.
Then their discipline is immediately rescinded, and the discipline is not served until there's a Board of Rights, and then of course the decision goes to initially to the Board of Rights, and then afterward to the fire chief if there is a guilty decision in the case, and then discipline is imposed, and that can be years. I don't know off the top of my head what the status is of all the boards. I do know that there are at least 20 cases pending a Board of Rights. That does not include the vaccine mandate cases. I think Chief Everett again can probably speak more definitively on this. I think there's at least 15 cases anticipated to go to Board of Rights related to the vaccine mandate. So the number will climb.
Right.
When we did our first report on this issue, there were 56 cases pending a Board of Rights. At one point, that number was reduced, I believe, to 15. But in my tenure, I don't believe that number has ever dipped below 15 cases awaiting a Board of Rights.
Okay. Oh, Chief Everett, did you want to say something?
No, ma'am, do you have a question? Did you want me to follow up on something?
Oh, I think it was the how many Board of Rights are pending so far. But that's going to go into the verbal report, but also that will, if we have, how many exemptions were there? 300 something?
Well, yeah, so we have, for the vaccine exemptions, we have 300 that's on my other report. We have 339 of people that are not fully vaccinated that have asked for exemptions.
Right. Okay, so potentially, I know that many of them have actually been vaccinated, but potentially many will request a Board of Rights. So you're looking at an influx possibly.
If I can, ma'am, let me provide a little clarity.
Please.
So we're talking about two things. We're talking about disciplinary issues. We're talking about condition of employment, not meeting a condition of employment with the vaccine boards. So while the process of separation from the department or discipline from the department is the same under the charter, there's two different issues. So if you're talking about vaccine mandate Board of Rights, we currently have 18 members, this is in another agenda item at the end of the meeting, but we do have about 18 members or so that are pending a board. I'll get those numbers to you in that report. And those members are facing a board of rights for failure to meet a condition of employment. That's a department-directed board of rights. On the discipline side, which is what independent assessor Stengel is talking about, we have approximately 8. I think we have 8. Let me see real quick. 1, 2. We have 6 directed boards, which is the department's recommendation is for a member to go to a board of rights, which means that the penalty guidelines put us up and over a 30-day window for a suspension. So if we calculate the penalty guideline, it's either going to be an automatic board based on the penalty guideline, or the recommended suspension is greater than 30 days. If it's greater than 30 days or an automatic board of rights, we recommend a board of rights for the member. The other option for a member, the board of rights is also used as an appeal mechanism for a suspension proposal. So if a member has proposed a 4-day suspension and they want to file for an appeal, they certainly can do so within the parameters that are provided to them within 1060 of the charter. We accept those as department or member requested boards of rights. And as Sue mentioned, we probably have somewhere between 15 and 20 of those pending. Your question as to what was your question about why, or was it why they're
so the same process? So we're talking about the same pool of people, correct? That do the board of rights.
PSD conducts the board of rights, yes.
Right, but it's chiefs, correct?
So the chief officers oversee the board of rights as panelists on the board. They're selected by the members. Mm-hmm. We can do 3 boards of rights at one time if we have the personnel to do so, because going beyond 3 pulls 9 chief officers out of the pool that people could choose from. So the maximum amount of boards that we can do is 3 at a time. It does take a lot of personnel to put on a board for preparation, for witness prep, for evidence, providing the evidence. These are full evidentiary hearings, and they can take weeks, they can take months, depending on the board.
Right. So the reason why I'm saying is this: we see that, as Ms. Stengel had mentioned, that there's going to be a lot more cases likely coming in, correct? And that could, do we have the staff to deal with that? Is that going to push these disciplinary cases to the side? What's the priority? And that's going to be the department responding to this. I'd like to see that in the report coming back as well. So I just look at a system being overloaded. And I mean, it could potentially be, I don't know. But my concern is, I don't know what, was recommended for, like, let's say you've got somebody that has been, they have not received any type of, punishment or whatever. I hate to use that term, but whatever is decided by the board, that they are in the field during this time. Is that correct? That they are in the appeals process. They face no discipline, and they are in the field like the person who is served or who's had their case out there for 10 years. Has there been any discipline?
The practice of the department when a member requests a board of rights, is that what you're talking about? So the member will file for a board of rights. They will be pending their board of rights, and they will continue to be on duty until such time as the board of rights is pulled. When their board is pulled, they go off duty, leave no pay until such time that the board concludes. So that was done years ago. It's been that way for as long as I've been involved in the disciplinary process, probably since 2007. It was before that the department had moved that way. We certainly can look at that practice to determine whether or not for sworn members, we can provide suspensions on the front end and then have their board as an appeal. I don't think there's anything in the charter that precludes that. Right. It's been a department practice for many, many years, and it will require discussions with UFLAC, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm just trying to figure out, why it's taking like 10 years. And if we have, double digits pending, that's problematic when you don't have an efficient system. So, and then people, are not incentivized to pull aboard, correct? So, I definitely am looking forward to the department's response with this. Just looking at the study that we had, it outlined that it felt like practices of discipline were not adjudicated evenly. So I hope that the response coming back will outline methods and hopefully adopt these recommendations. But I do look forward to learning more from the department. So thank you. Thank you, Ms. Stengel.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Woods-Gray, you're muted. So
okay,
you're talking.
I have all these. First, I was trying to unmute myself, and then I think Ms. Gomez was trying to unmute me too. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
In item 6, you're saying that we need to go, that the charter states that we could continue with the suspension and the member can apply for a Board of Rights at the same time.
Correct.
And so that's what you're recommending. Okay, that sounds like and then I guess once the Board of Rights, we probably would rush the Board of Rights more if that happened. Maybe, I don't know. But my other concern would be that with the Board of Rights and all these different hearings that are going on, would time run out on some of these complaints? Where I noticed in the report, sometimes the time ran out on some of the issues that have been complaints that have been filed. And then would that time interfere or with that, with the complaints if we have a lot of other cases ahead of them?
Right. So this statute, the 1 year and or 2 year statute of limitations is stopped once the member once the commission, according to the charter, once the commission is served or provided with the discipline information. So in practice, what happens is the member is served with their discipline, and then the department provides the commission with the suspension documents. So I believe the charter says that when the discipline is, or the case, forgive me, I don't know the language right off the top of my head, but when it is filed with the Board of Fire Commissioners, that's when the 1 year or 2 year stops. So the request for a Board of Rights usually happens after that. And so the statute is already told or stopped at that point. And so the request for the board does not impact or implicate the statute of limitations.
That's correct.
Very good.
To allude on, just to follow up on that as well.
Okay, go ahead. Is that Chief Eric?
Yes, ma'am. So
go right ahead.
As the independent assessor mentioned, the charter indicates that upon service of the second half of the Skelly packet or the disciplinary paperwork that she mentioned, we also serve it upon the Board of Fire Commissioners. Once that service is completed, the statutory timelines are stopped for that case. The member at that point has two different timelines to consider in filing for an appeal. If we serve the member in person, the member has 5 days to request or Board of Rights through an appeal process. If we serve the member with that paperwork through certified mail after we've made attempts to do it in person, then the member has 10 days to file for an appeal. So those timelines are stopped, and that's the process and the timelines for the appeal process.
Okay, very good. Are there other comments or concerns from other commissioners?
Just one last comment, Commissioner.
Yes, Commissioner Ibarra.
So one of the things that I'm particularly not concerned about is
the fact that we have some members who will choose to leave the department in lieu of discipline, because it is so difficult for us. I mean, once they achieve tenure in the department, once they get past the probationary department, it's almost impossible to fire anybody, even for severe misconduct. So the only thing we can do is send them to the Board of Rights, and then they appeal. It's years long process. So if instead of that they choose to quit, that's almost one of the easiest things that we can do. So if the gross violations, of whatever they did, means that we're not going to be able to fire them for like 3 years, and they choose to quit, I'm fine with that, because they acknowledge that they're probably going to be fired 3 years from now instead of now, and they don't want to go through all of that. I think it's better. So there's certain things here that we could, there's a lot of room for discussion. So that's why I just kind of want to think about this a little bit more, because there's some interesting things here. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Okay, very good. Thank you, Independent Assessor Stingle, for the very thorough report. I know that did take a lot of time. It's a lot of work in there, looking through all those files and compiling a report. But thanks for your effort there. Now item 6B has a recommendation. Is there a motion for item 6B, BFC 22-046?
I will so move with the that we accept the report, and then we defer the recommendations until we can get a further comprehensive report from the department.
I would like to add that we get that report on June 21st. And
okay.
Okay.
So it's been moved and seconded that we receive and approve her report and hold the recommendations until we get the report from the department on June 22nd?
June 21st.
June 21st. Okay. Okay. Ms. Gomez, would you do a roll call, please?
Yes, and just for clarification, we're continuing this item to June 21st meeting.
Yes.
Yes.
Woods Gray.
Aye.
Babcock. Hara.
Aye.
Ibarra.
Yes.
Ninberg.
Yes.
And once again, I'll check for Commissioner Babcock. She may have needed to leave the meeting. Motion carries.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
I just heard Commissioner Babcock can't unmute herself, so
she can't.
Is there somebody? Can somebody unmute her?
Yes. Can you unmute her, Ms. Gomez?
No.
Yeah.
She has mic now.
There you
go.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes. Vote yes.
Okay, very good. Okay.
Thank you. Noted.
Okay, very good. Okay, so now we move on to item C, BFC 22-047. I'm not sure who's doing that report.
Morning again, Madam President, Commissioner.
Okay. Good morning.
Graham Everett, Deputy Chief, and I serve as the Chief of Staff. Today I present with you the corrective action summary for the first quarter of 2022. I think a couple of meetings ago we provided the last quarter for 21. This summary provides you with the disciplinary work that's been done since January 1st to March 31st of this year. It outlines the sworn and civilian, and this report actually is just sworn, disciplinary and punitive discipline that's been taken in that quarter. Happy to answer any questions that I can, and we have before you the reprimands and also the suspensions.
Are there any questions or concerns from commissioners regarding this report? I don't see anyone raising a hand for concerns or questions. Okay, thank you, Chief Everett. Is there a motion to receive and file?
Make a motion to receive and file item 6C.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we receive and file BFC 22-047. Ms. Gomez?
Woods Gray?
Aye.
Babcock?
Yes.
Hara? Commissioner Hara?
Aye.
Thank you, sir. Ibarra?
Yes.
And Nimberg?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to item D, BFC 22-048. I'm not sure who's doing that report.
Madam President, Laura Triner is going to be doing that report for us.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Good morning, Madam President and Commissioners.
Oh, good
can you
morning.
Hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good morning. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. We were having trouble, audio trouble here. But anyway,
okay.
My name is Laura Triner from the Personnel Services section. I'm a senior personnel analyst, and the draft forecast reports that you have there include the information two ways. The first report shows the data broken down by classification, and the second report is broken down by ethnicity and gender. And this data is as of March 31st, 2022. Also included for information is the quarterly diversity reports, which are as of April 21st, 2022. And I am happy to answer any questions that you may have on this information.
Okay, commissioners, are there questions? Comments?
Oh, I just want to say thank you so much for this report. I do want to point out in fiscal year 24-25 that we are losing a lot of leaders. Our leadership, you've got 21 captains, captain ones, 11 captain twos, 13 battalion chiefs, 5 assistant chiefs, and 1 deputy chief. That is, I just wanted to point that out. I know that y'all see that. I do appreciate also breaking it out by race and gender. I see that there's 1 year where there's a high percentage of African Americans that are retiring. That actually is 23-24. So you have, and a high percentage of Asian members, so 11 Asian, 37 African Americans. 60 Hispanic as well. So I just want to everybody to be aware. I just want to say thank you for this, because this provides a roadmap on how to backfill these positions. So just having this quarterly would be great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Are there other comments or concerns from commissioners? Okay, very good. Looks like we have a big job to do in recruitment. And hopefully we'll continue to be funded so that we can continue to hire as we go through the next few years. With the change in leadership, we don't know what may happen to our department, but let's hope that they'll value the fire department as well, as much as Mayor Garcetti has. And that we can continue to hire, and recruitment is going to have to be done, I guess, in a very special and targeted way. Maybe something different from what we've been doing. Okay, are there other concerns or comments? Seeing no one else, is there a motion to receive and file this item?
Make a motion to receive and file item 6D.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and second that we receive and file item 6D BFC 22-048. Ms. Gomez?
Woods Gray,
Aye.
Babcock,
Yes.
Hara,
Aye.
Ibarra,
Aye.
Ninberg.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Trainer. That was a very thorough report, but it does keep in front of us what we need to know, to be aware of. And we're on the last item, item E, Chief Graham Everett, the COVID update.
Good morning again, Commissioners, Madam President. So for item 6E, the COVID update numbers for you today. We have 3,758 department employees. Of that number, 3,276 are fully vaccinated. That's just a tick over 87%. We have, as I mentioned earlier, we have 339 exemptions from people that are not fully vaccinated. They're being considered by the personnel department. 30 of those are medical. 17 of those are medical and religious, and 292 of those are based on religious beliefs. We have sent a number of letters to people to remove them from duty based on noncompliance. The original notices that went out to 363 members. They were placed on a 48-hour notice to comply. 126 of them became compliant before having to go off duty. 237 members of that group were placed off duty, and of the 237, 210 have become compliant and have returned to duty. 17 members have resigned or retired on a basis that we can track back to the vaccine mandate, and one has been discharged. 20 remain on unpaid administrative leave, and those are the members we spoke of that will be pending, selection for a board. And right now, we have 14 members at home isolating with active cases of COVID, and 10 of them are unable to return to full duty, and we have one person still on light duty. So that number has gone up a little bit from our last meeting to where we have 14 people in isolation right now. And that's the conclusion of my report. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Okay, so Chief, how many people are working who had not vaccinated?
How many people are working? We have, that number would be difficult. That would be a number of people that are compliant to the ordinance but not vaccinated. So that number would be roughly, I would say around 300, based on when you look at the number of people that have filed for an exemption. The people that are, I would say it's about 300, ma'am, because the way you're framing it is basically the people that are compliant to the ordinance because they filed for an exemption and they're waiting for that status to come back. So those members remain compliant to the ordinance by wearing a mask and testing, and we track that as well on a daily basis.
Okay, this was about 300 that are not vaccinated.
Right. Well, I'll say 300 have filed 339 have filed for exemptions of people that are not vaccinated. So, if a member's not compliant, they're not in the field. And I say compliant, meaning compliant to the ordinance requirements. That doesn't mean, at this time, it doesn't mean that they have to be vaccinated. At this time, it means that they've had an exemption on file, wearing a mask, testing, and or are vaccinated, if that makes sense.
So they're not in the field, so where are they?
If they're not in the field, if they're not compliant and they're not in the field, we've sent them home, leave no pay.
Okay. but the ones who are testing and have filed for exemptions, they are in the field.
Correct, because they are compliant to the ordinance at this time.
Right.
And they're required to wear masks, even though the city doesn't require masks indoors.
As part of
yes, they do.
Yeah, as part of the the city. Yeah, so
the city sorry.
The city requires masks indoors.
Right.
In all
city buildings.
All city buildings, but in like
the fire stations.
No, but I mean so sorry. You know what? I've been all these mandates. I wear masks all the time, so I don't know. I see a lot of people not wearing masks, so I'm like, I think there's no mask mandate. Now that's just city buildings. Where's the city now? Do you have to wear it indoors in all like stores and just blanket is what I'm talking about.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I think blanket you don't have to wear a mask, right?
Well, ma'am,
the county.
Yeah. So as we look through it, we concern ourselves with the city facilities, number one, but we also on emergency responses require our members to wear masks for precautionary purposes for their medical responses. I'm not quite sure where the county is right now in terms of retail and other outlets. I do believe a mask is required in certain establishments, large venue type of situations, things like that. But in terms of the city's ordinance, the members that are in the field that are not vaccinated are compliant to the ordinance because they filed for an exemption and they're testing.
They're wearing masks in their stations.
Correct.
They're at all times.
They're expected to be doing so in a city facility, wearing a mask. And that's where when we have people that fall out of compliance with that, we're tracking that daily as it updates into the city system for Bluestone is the name of it. And so when we find fallouts, we will send those members home unless they're compliant.
Right. Okay. Because, yes, I have been getting reports that there are a lot of people not wearing masks in stations. So I don't know how, that's a lot of people to monitor, especially 338 that are in different platoons and different stations. So that is something that we need to be aware of.
Yeah, if you have information about members that are out of compliance, please let me know, and we're always striving to be compliant with what the ordinance requires.
Fantastic. I will let you know. I have not been given specifics. I've just been given, blanket statements. But yes. So, okay, that's good to know. I also, so how many have been sent back of these exemptions? How many have been received back from personnel?
As of late last week, I think we had about 150 that we have received back.
Oh, really? And what was that? Were they in? Was that medical? Can you add that to the report next meeting or following meetings too?
Yeah, I'll get those numbers. And yeah, so what we're doing is we're notifying the members. The members do have an appeal process that they can follow that's contained within the ordinance. Those appeals will go back to the general manager if they want an appeal. There's also timelines in there built in to go ahead and get the vaccine.
Okay, great.
And people out of compliance that don't ask for an appeal would subsequently go into the other group of folks that are non-compliant.
Okay. And of the 150 that came back from personnel, how many were accepted? How many were denied?
I don't have that number with me now, but I think the number of denials is higher than the number of accepted. But we'll provide that when I get it.
Okay, great. Yeah, if you could provide that, that would be fantastic. Just getting this information, I think it's important. Certainly, the pandemic, I just anecdotally, I know a lot of people that are getting COVID now, and one is in the hospital. So even though it feels like the pandemic is over or we're in a lull, and we are a bit, I do know it's still, the cases are rising. So I just want to we are not through this. So, and I do want to protect our most vulnerable. That is the goal. And I know that that's the goal of the department. So, All right, excellent. Well, I look forward to the next report on the 7th. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, according to LA County, there's a slight increase, and it has happened for the last day. I know the deaths have like tripled. I think from 2 days ago it was like 6. I think yesterday it was 15. And so that we do know that there is, whatever reason, it goes up and down, up and down, up and down. And people who have been vaccinated are ending up in the hospital. I don't understand the exact reason for that, but it just means that everybody needs to really be cautious and take care of yourself. That's the whole thing, I think. The pandemic is not over. We may be tired of it, but it is not over. It's just in another phase. Okay, thank you very much, Chief Everett. That brings us to the end of our agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn the meeting. Ms. Gomez, would you do the roll call, please?
Let's Gray.
Aye.
Babcock. Hara.
Aye.
Ibarra.
Yes.
Ninberg.
Yes.
And I'll try for Commissioner Babcock again.
Yes.